Hey, sixth graders. Today is Thursday, October 29th. It's the weekend before Halloween, so we're gearing up where people put on a mask, they walk around, and they become someone else. So today, it's fitting that we're reading another book where we have pictures of people and we have to sort of make judgments about them. So anyway, so today, we have two chapters, and I'm going to read them right now. Ultimately, your work today is the same. I do want you to start today, though, with some free writing. So, actually, before you do this video, the step one will be to do some journaling. And I'm probably going to have you just take a picture of that and submit it for today. So I just want to see you respond to these two questions. Actually, maybe it's in a discussion question. But anyway, your first thing is to do some pre-writing. And that's about thinking about what happened yesterday. So yesterday I read Gonzalo. Today you should read Leona. And I think the other one is Sam. So these are the chapters for today, which means I want you to think about Gonzalo and his story from yesterday. That makes you start kind of engaging the text. That's how we review, right? We write something about what we read so that it gets us back into what we're about to read. Okay. And again, after you're done, remember we're going to work on your character work. So today we'd be finishing Leona and Sam. And then if you notice right here, here's where we are. We've got Wendell from Kentucky. We got Anna, her family's from Romania, which is Europe. We got Kim from Vietnam. We got Gonzalo from Guatemala. So we've got ourselves a heck of this is all coming together right there in Cleveland. Pretty cool. Okay, so I'm going to read Leona. If you look at Leona, looks like she's a woman of color. Doesn't look like she's white, but we'll find out. All right, here we go. Mama believed in doctors, but not Granny. Not even if they were black. No, ma'am. I grew up in her house back in Atlanta. She drank down a big cup of goldenrod tea every morning with a nutmeg floating on it and declared she didn't need no other medicine. Holy cow, it's a lot of information. Okay, so Atlanta, that's where her family comes from. And she said, when she says not even if they were black, that kind of tells me, the reader, that Leona is black, right? She's saying, like, yeah, she wouldn't go to a doctor even if they were like us. So I think that's what we can assume. Also, there's a picture right there of goldenrod. Guys, it's a weed. In Minnesota, goldenrod like makes people get their allergies. So she's using it as a medicine. Dr. Bates tried to sell her his iron pills and told her straight out that the tea of hers would raise her blood pressure and burst her heart. He passed away that very same summer. Next doctor said it would give her brain fever. He died on his 50th birthday. I believe right during the party. So do you guys sort of see there's a little bit of storytelling there? Is that Granny believes in tea over medicine, and the two doctors that said that's not going to work, they died before Granny. Had him a real nice funeral later. Granny lived to 99 by her count. Her count. Maybe she wasn't 99. She kept a scrapbook with the obituaries of all the doctors she outlived and could recite the names of them by heart, like a chapter out of Genesis. We took to going to their funerals right regular over the years. She always laid some goldenrod on their graves. It's almost like in their face, doctor. I was thinking about her one day walking home from the grocery store on Gibb Street. Then I came to the vacant lot and saw three people in different parts of it. I thought maybe they were looking for money. Turned out they had shovels, not metal detectors. When I saw they had little gardens going, I said to myself, I believe I'll plant me a patch of goldenrod right here. There was a man standing and watching from the sidewalk and a girl looking down out a window. There were probably lots of folks who'd want to grow something just like me. Then I studied all the trash on the ground. I don't know why anyone called that lot vacant. The garbage was piled high as your waist, and some of it from the neighborhood, and some dropped off by outside people. The ones who don't want to pay at the dump or got dangerous chemicals or think we're such slobs down here we don't mind another load of junk. We can't get City Hall to pick up our trash, but we got it delivered just fine. The smell's enough to curl up a crocodile's nose, especially in the summer. The gardeners had made some trails through it, but I knew precious few would join them until that mess was hauled away. Looking at it, I knew this wasn't a job for no wheelbarrow. This was a job for the telephone. Hey, real quick, I'm going back the last page. There was a man standing and watching from the sidewalk. Do we know who that is? But a girl looking down out a window. Wonder who that could be. Does that ring a bell? Maybe Anna. I marched on home. I've got 2 kids in a high school that has more guns than books, so I know about complaining to officials and such about things that need changing. Next morning was Monday. At 9 o'clock, I drank me a tall glass of water. I knew I'd be having to say the same thing to 15 or 20 government folks. I put Miles on the CD player and stretched out on the bed. Might as well be comfortable when you're on hold. Then I opened the phone book and started in dialing. Miles would be Miles Davis, who's a jazz player. Only reason I know that is because I know some jazz. You ever watch a sax player close? They push down a key and way at the other end of the instrument, something moves. That's what I was looking for. The key that would make the trash disappear. I tried the city of Cleveland, then Cuyahoga County, then the state of Ohio, and finally the U.S. government. 6.5 hours later, I found the lot was owned by the city. But the people running Cleveland don't usually come down here unless they take a wrong turn on the freeway. You can't measure the distance between my block and City Hall in miles. So that's a really interesting statement. So she's talking about her neighborhood being rough. So Gibb Street, where we're on, doesn't sound like it's the best. And she's saying you can't measure the distance between my block and City Hall in miles because it's not about that. They don't come down there. And that's one of the problems in cities is people feel like they're forgotten, right? The neighborhoods that are experiencing violence or crime, they often feel like they're not even heard. This is her story, and she's telling that as if this is how it is for her. She doesn't believe they want to come there. Just the same, I kept working on it the next day. That Citizens Information Center told me to call the public health department. They sent me to someone else. They're all trained to be slippery as snakes and to be out to lunch, to not return my messages, and to keep folks on hold till they get gray and die. I had the feeling I was getting farther from the key I needed instead of closer. Then on the 3rd day, I thought on it. When people talk to you on the phone, you're nothing but a voice. And when you're on hold, you're not even that. I had to make myself real to them. That morning, I took a bus downtown and walked into the public health department. Told all about the trash all over again to this dolled-up receptionist. Let her see me up close and personal and hear me loud and clear. She just told me to sit down with the others waiting. I did. Then I opened the garbage bag. I picked up the lot on my way. Then I opened up the garbage bag I'd picked up in the lot on my way. The smell that came out of it made you think of hog pens and maggots and kitchen scraps from back when Nixon was president. It was amazing how quick people noticed it, including that receptionist. And even more amazing how quick I was called in to have a meeting with someone. I was definitely real to them now. I brought that bag along with me into the meeting to keep it that way. Pretty powerful strategy there, right? If you're not heard, what do? Sam. This is what Sam looks like. He might look somewhat familiar. Anyone? Right? Looks kind of familiar. Maybe. Just saying. Look familiar? Told you. Sometimes authors put them in there. All right. I saw people on the sidewalk watching something. I crossed to join them, like a cat who smells herring's fish. Men in jumpsuits from the jail, I think, were clearing the lot. Unbelievable. The woman beside me told me the land was for anyone who wanted a garden. Even more unbelievable. The word paradise came out of my mouth without thinking. The woman looked at me strange. It's a hobby with me, studying words. I looked at the 3 walls surrounding the lot, then at a garden coming up beautiful, planted there close to the sidewalk. Paradise comes from a Persian word. It means walled park. I told the woman that. This time she gave me a little smile. I smiled back. That's my occupation. So guys, let's review. He walks up. People in orange jumpsuits are picking up garbage. If you don't know what that reference is, sometimes prisons actually and like prison systems have ways for inmates, people who have been convicted, to give back to the community, and they become cleaning crews. That's part of their community service and helps reduce their sentence. It's like, good citizenship. You've seen fishermen mending the rips in their nets. That's what I do, only with people. I used to try to patch up the whole world. For 36 years, I worked for different groups promoting world government, setting up conferences on pacifism. That means pacifism is peace. To be a pacifist is to not want to be violent or have war. Raising money, stuffing envelopes. Not that I've given up the fight. I've just switched battlefields from the entire planet to this corner of Cleveland. Sometimes I think I've actually had more effect on the world since I retired. What do? I smile at people, especially Black people and the ones from different countries. I get them looking up at me instead of down or off to the side. I start up conversations in lines and on the bus and with cashiers. People see I'm friendly, no matter what they've heard about whites or Jews. If I'm lucky, I get them talking to each other, sewing up the rips in the neighborhood. So now we know, Sam just said it. The way he said it was, people see I'm friendly no matter what they've heard about whites or Jews. Sam is white and Jewish. That's another way to know. That's our author. I hadn't had a garden since I was a kid. I wanted one now, only this time I was 78 to be exact, and in no condition to dig up the soil. So I hired a teenager, Puerto Rican, who said he knew where he could get a shovel. He knew he'd have to do a good job to be paid. He worked that soil until it flowed through your fingers like silk. I paid him well and offered him a row. He wanted to grow marijuana to sell. That's a drug. A real businessman. We discussed this. We finally compromised on pumpkins. After I explained how much he could probably get for them at Halloween, not to mention the advantages of staying out of jail, he was new to the neighborhood. We chatted back and forth, squatting there in the cool of the evening, planting our seeds, a few other people working, a robin singing out strong all the while. It seemed to me that we were in truth in paradise, a small Garden of Eden. That's a Bible reference. In the Bible, though, there's a river in Eden. Here we had none. Not even a spigot anywhere close by. A spigot's the thing you turn like a faucet. Nothing. People had to lug their own water in buckets or milk jugs or soda containers. Water is heavy as bricks, trust me. And new seeds have to be always moist. And in all of June, it didn't rain but 4 days. The result? People bent over like coolies, walking sometimes 3 or 4 blocks, a gallon jug in each hand, complaining all the time about the water. Mine, I had hauled by a 3rd grader with a wagon. The contest I started came later. Water aside, we had other problems. People in the garden told friends and relatives. The lot was big, there was plenty of room, but when newcomers joined, at least at the beginning, they could usually get a spot near people they knew. One Saturday, when the garden was fullest, I stood up a minute to straighten my back. And what did I see? With a few exceptions, the blacks on one side, the whites on the other, the Central Americans and Asians toward the back. The garden was a copy of the neighborhood. I guess I shouldn't have been surprised. A duck gives birth to a duckling, not a moose. It's a weird phrase. Each group kept to itself, spoke its own language, and grew its own special crops. One man even put up a pole and flew the Philippine flag above his plot. Then there was the garbage. A few well-brought-up people in the buildings around the lot still used it for a trash can. Just couldn't get out of the habit. They emptied their ashtrays out the window and tossed out all sorts of stuff. One day, a bottle came down like a meteor. A man picked it up and threw it back. Straight through the window it came out of. A minute later, 5 more flew out. Next, I thought to myself, some gunshots. Instead, thank God, it was only shouting. That crazy homeless man, the one who used to sleep on the broken down couch, he also missed a lot being a dump. He showed up, saw his couch had been taken, and started ripping out people's plants. The police had to come. Some people started worrying, looking ahead to ripe beans and tomatoes and thinking about strangers coming in. That week, a man put chicken wire around his garden 5 feet high, complete with a little gate and padlock. The week after that, someone built a board fence. Then came the first keep out sign. Then the crowning achievement, barbed wire. God, who made Eden, also wrecked the Tower of Babel by dividing people. From paradise, the garden was turning back into Cleveland. So think about what's happening, right? Is that all this beautiful coming together, Sam's noticing it was coming together, and now it's dividing. So the same lines of the neighborhood where we've got on one side we have people of color, on the other we have people who are white. It's like that dividing line is starting to show up, and he's not happy about it. The thing about Sam, just so we know, is that sometimes in our culture, we got to understand that our society is sort of designed by like whiteness, right? Europeans came over here. And sometimes in our society, white people think they have all the answers. And Sam is noticing all these things, but he's also someone we got to pay attention to because he doesn't know the stories, right? He's making a lot of assumptions. And that's what everyone does. And sometimes he thinks he's got the answers, but does he? Does he really know what people need? Thinks he does. So for us to just talk about. All right. So hopefully this is a lot of reading today. You followed along, you read along, and I will. I'll talk to you later.